Commission on Aging, and I'd like for you to help me get the minutes of that meeting. And maybe Mr. Tam can share that information with everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Who's next?
Matthew Cardinale.
Hi, everybody. This is Matthew Cardinale, news editor of Atlanta Progressive News. I rise today to exercise the right which I have under the Constitution of the United States to petition my government. Mr. Wan, you'll be shocked to know that I actually agree with your position on the demolition issue. And so I was going to speak to that, but I see you all are going to be holding it. But I don't think it's too much to ask for a site redevelopment plan so that we can know what people want to do with the property. And certainly in District 6, there are many people who are concerned about preserving the quality of their neighborhoods. So I actually came down here today to talk about the Beltline. And as you know, I've been down here many times to talk about the Beltline and the Beltline Affordable Housing Trust Fund and my concerns about what's happening with the trust fund, how the dollars are being spent. And a couple months ago, we were fortunate enough to have the Beltline BAHTF come down here. I was very happy with that because I felt like everything was out on the table as far as how we got to where we are and where we need to be going. But I was troubled as I began to think about the Beltline being funded as part of the T-SPLOST. And I don't know if the Beltline has really been straightforward to this committee. The promise that was made to the citizens of Atlanta when they raised the concern about gentrification, displacement as a result of the Beltline, the promise was, oh, don't worry, we're going to take 15% of the money from the TAD, put that into a trust fund, and that's what we've been fighting over is what's going to happen with that money. Well, have you all thought about the fact that if we fund the Beltline through this sales tax, no money will go into the trust fund from that? 15% of the bonds that are taken out, but if we don't take out a bond, so that's something I really want this committee to think about because this was the promise that we made to the public. And this is, this could be two very important segments of the Beltline. If we throw in the towel on the bonds, and maybe that's what's happening. I mean, maybe they're not being honest about the fact that in order to take out a bond, we need to be able to convince a bank that as a result of this borrowing, we're going to make an investment that will cause property taxes to go up enough so that we can pay back that bond with interest. If we can't convince a bank of that right now, and I don't know when we will be able to do that again. I really don't. So are we talking about now funding the Beltline completely through sales tax fund, federal funding? That's where I think we are, and the Beltline hasn't been honest with us about that. And what does that mean for the trust fund? Does that mean we had one installment of the trust fund and that's it? And that's all we're doing to address gentrification mitigation in the Beltline? So that's something I hope this committee will think about, and particularly when the Beltline comes back. I also just want to talk generally about the T-SPLOST, since it does include funding for the Beltline. The sales tax is a regressive tax. We already have an 8% tax right now. If we renew the education penny, renew the water treatment penny, and take on a new penny, we're going to have 9-cent sales tax. That is unacceptable. And why should it's a regressive tax, which means that it's disproportionately paid by working families. Why should working families be funding the Beltline? Why should working families be asked to fund a project that will now have no affordable housing component, because where's the money for the trust fund, and that is going to basically cause them to have more housing cost burden in the long run? So I don't think that that's appropriate. Questions have also been raised about, is the Beltline really a transportation project or is it a community development project? Is it appropriate for the list? And I don't think it is. I mean, we have a few months to go before this vote, but I just want people to think about, we had opportunities to fund extensions of MARTA lines. That would have been something to get excited about. But to fund the Beltline when we already set up a funding mechanism, which was the TAD, that was supposed to, you know, contribute to an affordable housing stock in the city. So thank you very much. And Ms. Shepherd, you kind of came in and out, but I hope you understood the general concern about if we fund.
I heard you. And the only thing I would ask you to do, if you want answers to those questions, you need to submit them in writing to this committee, and we will refer them on to the Beltline. And to the various people.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you.